I've seen no evidence in my entire career that core web vitals actually does matter. So the reason why we rank very well in the US means we rank well in Philippines, for example. There's a better thing than no indexing. So we actually avoid using no index as much as possible. There's only one instance on the website where we have no index, which is just for when games are disabled. We actually use something called, people who design the product have the user experience in mind, but I'm there to say the robot is a user as well. If you have good indexability for the most important pages of the website, then everything else kind of works out. Like even when you have bad indexability in certain sections, that actually is business intelligence for you. It does not exist to rank. It exists to link to the new games. So one thing that the logging analysis helped me debug was how to fix our favicon. I have ranked many websites that fail core web vitals gloriously. But I've seen so much evidence that whenever you do stuff manually and have good operations, it always outperforms AI, but maybe I can be challenged on that. And you just multiply that, and that is the estimated marketing cost. So that is actually a really powerful value. So I can say in Q2, SEO value was an estimated X million dollars.
Breaking news.
Odys is selling 86% of their inventory to over 40,000 verified buyers, and most of it are instant sales. Are you sitting on a premium H domain? Sign up for Odys Marketplace right now and wait for your check. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Odys Podcast. My name is Aneta Samkov, and we're meeting today at SBC in Lisbon. And my guest is Peter Macinkovic, head of SEO at Stake, which is one of the largest online casinos in the world. Thank you so much for coming, Peter.
It's wonderful to be here. I'm looking forward to it. A big fan of the podcast, as I was telling you.
Oh, thank you. That's the best compliment. I'm really excited for today's discussion because it's tech SEO for iGaming.
Yes.
So let's just jump into it and tell us, iGaming niche is notoriously difficult to rank. So in your opinion, what ranking factors matter the most right now, especially for such difficult niche?
So there's an overwhelming bias towards brand and reputation. So very fortunately, stake.com is a very big brand. We sponsor the Premier League, we sponsor Formula One, and because we have that as an asset, that's actually been a very big differentiator for us to outrank many people globally, even in markets we don't operate in. So the reason why we rank very well in the US means we rank well in Philippines, for example. So that one works really well, as long as you resource that and take advantage of that, or at least give Google the idea that you have a very strong brand reputation in a particular market. That actually helps you. It's a big edge.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
And with so many pages on Stake, how do you make sure Googlebot discovers the new URLs quickly? Are there any ways you use for the faster URL discovery?
So first and foremost, the foundation is having a very good split sitemap. So on Stake, we have a sitemap for every type of page we have. So we have one for the casino, we have one for the individual sport category, the individual sports league, the individual fixtures. So all in all, it's about 170 sitemaps, including, so that's for 15 languages. So you multiply 12 or 14 by 15.
So how many sites do you have?
It's a single site. This is the one website, stake.com. Okay. So you have a sitemap for casino, that's 3,500 pages. You have one for the individual sports, like soccer, basketball. It's a very small sitemap. That's 100. Every single individual soccer match, that's say we're in Lisbon, so it's Porto versus, Benfica. That for this weekend, very short page, there's about 1,000 in that sitemap. Then every single language has an individual one. So first is having good sitemaps to improve the indexability. Second of all is obviously having really good interlinking, some of it automatic, some of it manually done. And then you have stuff like schema and all those signals. One of the things we have in our sitemaps is, even though Google says that they don't value priority, they don't check that kind of stuff, we actually found that adding the priority and stuff for pages that have a very short lifespan really improve their indexability.
Really?
Yes, yeah. Even though they said it, as long as you're honest, Google starts respecting your sitemap. So that's actually, for us, the number one reason why we have good indexing on all our pages is because of the fact that our sitemaps are good and our interlinking is quite good.
Okay.
And schema as well, but that's a different discussion.
So with so many pages and limited crawl budget, how do you make sure the Google bot gets to the most important content? What strategies do you use to manage the crawl budget?
So we have to get some intelligence on that first. So what we do is actually we scrape the indexability. So one of the advantages of having individual sitemaps for each section of the website is that you can actually get the amount that's indexed and not indexed for each individual sitemap. So the casino in English versus the casino in Spanish, or like we have certain areas where we're weak, certain areas where we're strong. And we actually do that in Screaming Frog. We actually have a Screaming Frog script that we authenticate with Google. We scrape, we extract the values, and then that produces a table where we can do that. And we run that regularly. So we build that over time. So then we have an indexability rate internally. So we can say that our casino sitemap has 98% indexability, and it's been like that for a while.
Wow.
For English. But we have weak sections on our website, such as the outrights, which has a much lower indexability. So the solution, then you have a decision to make. You say, why is this bad? Is it bad because it's bad SEO, or should those pages shouldn't be in Google or shouldn't even be crawled in the first place? So you have to de-optimize those pages. You have to make them hard for them to crawl naturally, or you might not include them in the sitemap. That gives you the intelligence to actually make smart decisions on the website.
Okay, that's a really good one. And how do you use robots.txt?
Robots.txt exists for survival. You need to do that because it's the one that's the red light to tell Google to stop it. So if you look at Snake.com's robots.txt, you'll see a lot of rules. Many of them are for pop-ups, modals, because every single betting slip is technically indexable. It's technically a URL. So if it was, we have billions of bets. So if there was a mechanism for Google to crawl that, it would be disastrous. So we do that to disallow various pages. We do some of it strategically. We only want the unique pages. We block certain features on the website where tabs to prevent cannibalization. So every single page that is discoverable should be clean. And there are some exceptions for certain things where, for example, there's an affiliate URL that's a query string. We don't block that because we actually get good page rank and good link value from those. So we rely on canonical because if we block that, it actually hurts us from a link standpoint. So it's bad from a technical standpoint, but good for links. So you have to make a decision sometimes.
That sounds like a lot of work, actually, to manage that file.
Not really. I've kind of done it I've done it, and then like if it keeps working or not. So it's a lot of work the one time, and maybe the second or third time you iterate on it. But I don't have to always change it because it's quite safe and structured. And if I notice a new pattern, I just add it to the list. And
I see.
That's fortunate for me. That's a small enough change that I can put on the website. I can do an engineering, I can make a pull request and I can make that small change. And where some people are unfortunate enough, they have to wait for engineers a million years to get something out there. But it's a small enough change that I can make myself. So yeah, I just manage it personally every once in a while.
I had no idea. So do you use non-indexing for certain sections?
So there's a better thing than no indexing. So we actually avoid using no index as much as possible. There's only one instance on the website where we have no index, which is just for when games are disabled. We actually use something called the unavailable after robots directive. So in the robots rules, you can do unavailable _after : and then a date. So it might be 2025-08- 13. So that might be the 13th of August, 2025. So that means after that date, Google will remove it from the index. That means that Google has to crawl it one time and it knows when to remove it. Whereas if you had a no index, after you apply the no index, it won't get removed until Google crawls it. Whereas you could put a URL on a timer and remove it. So this happens all the time where we have new URLs created, then they have no value after a week, or you might want to just keep putting it off just in case there's a problem down the line. You can actually set URLs on a timer and Google will eventually check it anyway. They'll crawl it just to see if the unavailable after is still active, and you can always update that date. So if they crawl it again, you can just update it. So it's actually a better way to manage ever-changing content, and it actually works 100% of the time, whereas no index is funky. Sometimes no index URLs surface up in the index, whereas I've never seen an instance where unavailable after has ever been that. It's unavailable after is what no index should be.
Wow, that's a really good one. Thank you for sharing that. And do you use crawl delay or some custom crawl scheduling approaches?
No, we don't really do that. We have a really strong crawlability, so it's not really an issue to do that. The only instance we had something similar to crawl delay was when we had the crawl control mechanism that used to be in Google Webmaster Tools. So that's the one where there was a hidden section that you have to Google to find the interface for and say, only crawl us for X amount of requests per day, delay it, that kind of stuff. And we only do that in an emergency situation. So there was an incident, like I think in 2022, maybe in April, where Cloudflare was blocking the whole Googlebot. And to prevent Google seeing all those 403s, I told Google to only crawl us like 2,000 times a day. So you actually tell Google to crawl it when there's a problem, and then when the problem gets fixed, it actually, the staleness of the index actually serve you. So then it doesn't get replaced, the index. So I was able to minimize damage and use that mechanism in that particular case.
I see. Nice. So with a huge casino websites like stakes, there are so many games, and you set pages for like even like single match happening. That typically means that a small percentage of the site is indexed. Can you tell us how does it look at stake, and like how do you control?
Sure. So mainly it's the sitemaps. So we have very, very good indexability on the stakes. So we have maybe at any time 3,500 casino games, and on English it's 98% of them are indexed. So there might be at any time 40 games, 50 games might not be indexed, and that's only at that particular snapshot of time. They'll probably get indexed within a week or two.
Wow.
And the hard ones are the individual fixtures. So that's individual match. So a new match gets added to the sports book, it gets created, it'll probably end in a week. So we tell Google to remove that. So we have a fixture sitemap, which has every active fixture, so every active sporting event you can bet on. That typically has between 500 to 1,500 individual fixtures in a day. It could be more. And that has even higher indexability.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because I set highest priority to them. They're the highest priority URL to crawl. They disappear with that unavailable after technique, and Google has learned that these are the most important pages on the website. So no matter, and at the shortest lifespan, so crawl them first. So I set priority levels, I set those kind of things, and that helps it there. The thing that has bad indexability are bad pages. So we have like tabs where there might be a tournament that hasn't been around since 2019. Google makes the decision and no index, and they choose not to index those kind of pages. So all tournaments, those kind of things that might be in our sitemap. But I don't see that as a bad thing, because then that means Google's doing my job for it, and it gives me intelligence that I can bring to engineering and product to say, hey, can we have a mechanism where we keep the website cleaner? But having poor indexability, but as long as the important URLs are there, it actually is, it's not a bad thing. So if you have good indexability for the most important pages of the website, then everything else kind of works out. Like even when you have bad indexability in certain sections, that actually is business intelligence for you.
Okay, yeah. And going off on that, huge websites like that often deal with problems such as thin content or duplicate content. How do you manage that for stake?
So we produce a lot of content every single week. So every single week we release something about 15 to 20 new games. Some of them are exclusive on stake.com. And on the entire website, I say we have about 3,500 games. So about 65% of them have fully written content, like full game descriptions. It's actually very rare in casinos to do that. Most casinos only give very short content or just it's usually the affiliates that do it. So I copied their technique and applied it as the first party, like where you can actually play the game. So as the operator. And the rest will be all templated. So having Google's number one job to determine is what the page is about. Like everything else is optimization, so the O for SEO, but the S and E is search engine, that's engineering. So you're just creating an efficiency. So we have good templates, and then those templates can get translated based on rules. So we might have a sport, bet, soccer, online on stake, or whatever the templated metadata would be. And then the word bet will be translated. So Portuguese, I think it's like asbestos, deportes, or maybe esportivo, whichever one is Portuguese or Spanish. And we have the templates that go out and they get translated. So we know what the word sport is, we know what the bet is, and that gets translated. So whenever newly created pages are, they have automatically translated metadata as the very bare minimum. So page title, meta descriptions are the bare minimum, because that's about 70% of the way there. So as long as Google understands what the page is and you have nothing that confuses it, like this is the page where you can bet on soccer versus this individual soccer match, then and you have nothing that competes with it internally, you should be okay.
And what about the regular log analysis?
Is that good practice?
It would be good practice. So at Stake, we don't have something that's quite as sophisticated for that because it's something that we're working on, but there's different business priorities when it comes to logging. So for example, we're one of the most DDoS websites on the internet. So a lot of spam, a lot of like heavy lifting. So at this point of time, we don't have logging as a business intelligence tool for SEO. We did have that briefly, maybe I say about 18 months ago when the platform was different. And that was actually very useful in debugging certain things. So one thing that the logging analysis helped me debug was how to fix our favicon. Like,
Really?
yeah, the favicon wasn't showing up in Google, and I went down a whole rabbit hole discovering it, and I found that it was crawling, I might mention it later, but like it was crawling a non-existent URL, and it just assumed it existed. So
Wow.
the solution to that was to redirect that to the actual favicon, but I would not have known about that without looking at the server logs. So practical fixes like that is where logging can come in. Understanding the behavior of it, like not in iGaming, but like just in general, like having logging and understanding these sections of the website that get more logged frequently than that kind of gives you insight of how the internal linking mechanisms are working and how Google are kind of clustering pages. That's the kind of intelligence it has, but we can kind of guess that with just our normal crawls. So like, it's not a necessary thing. It's it's part of like an operational thing that will make it really, really good. So it'll be nice to have, but like with a website like ours that's quite complicated and has different business needs, it's not something that we have as a business intelligence avenue. Yeah.
I see. And what is your approach to internal linking? Like with so many multi-language sites like Stake, how do you manage that? What's your philosophy on that?
Sure. So internal linking is one of the most important things we do. I mentioned that we write content for like, well over 2,000 games that's full on internal content. And it's not the main driver for that isn't from a content standpoint, it's actually using internal linking.
Wow.
So like if you went to any one of our individual casino games, they'll link to relevant games, relevant categories in context, in text, and that is all done manually and that is intentional. And the reason why we do it manually is that we can put the SEO flavor on top of it and add our strategy on each individual item of content. And the only way you can do that is with good operations. So our content management system's built on something called Sanity, and we can query that at any time. We can write a query and say, find me every single article that has the word crypto in it. And I can get a list. Then I can cross-reference that with our Google Search Console data based on impressions, and then I can get the list of candidates per URL. And we can also disqualify the URLs that's already internal linking. So we actually have mechanisms that give us suggestions of what games are the most related to the current game we're working on, what category it should be done with the particular text, and all these kind of things that makes my team easily able to make decisions of what to link to and where.
So actually, do you utilize things like hub pages or related game sections or any automated link modules like to connect across the site?
Not really when it comes to like from an SEO standpoint. Like the closest thing to hub pages just will be what our normal pages are for categories. So like a slots page, megaways page, like slot categories, those kind of things. And then we don't have a good related games module when it comes to SEO because it's more like featured games as opposed to like something that's smart. That would be like the most relevant games that's related to this particular game. That's kind of why we had to do it manually via content, because we can add content to like our slots page and then link to all the related slots or group the slots, those kind of things. And in the individual games, we link to the related ones. And as a side effect, because we had to do it manually, we actually got the SEO benefits of having like an SEO professional making decisions and optimizing that. And it actually made our internal linking really good. So we had to solve this all manually. We had to create operations and processes to solve it manually. And doing it all manually actually had great benefit. It was more because we solved an operational problem that we couldn't solve with technical, well, it's not solved from a technical standpoint, more like the company has different purposes for that particular module. We were able to solve it in other ways, which is what a good SEO professional does. And it had great benefits.
Awesome. So I was wondering, because link velocity is often an important factor when you consider external linking, but I was wondering about internal link velocity. Is there such thing, and does this matter?
So it's a hard thing about link velocity is that link velocity is a term that we SEOs give, but it's probably like 3 or 4 different mechanisms with different weights that actually is what we would consider link velocity. So every single week we have 10 to 15 games. We write a new fresh blog post. That blog post does not exist to rank. It exists to link to the new games. So that means that those games, which typically have a peak period in the first 2 weeks of launch, get an internal link, high prominence. They get we modify the main text box A's or text box B's on the bottom of the slots page, and the newly released categories. Like Google understands our mechanisms of like what is new on our website. So link velocity internally does matter, but it's kind of different than what people would typically say as link velocity from like a backlink standpoint, right? Like it's good to have freshness and then have mechanisms to control the freshness. And it is something, it's also naturally less competitive. So something that has been around for less than a week is easier to rank when you go all in. And like it's being linked to your most important pages on your website are linking to this new game, then you're the only casino in the world that will rank for that. And the rest are just the affiliates writing reviews for it, and you can outcompete them. So we're typically probably the only casino that would rank for a newly created game. Like typically, it might be different, but maybe some other people have copied our techniques, but typically that's how it's been for the last couple of years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And since you are operating in different regions with multiple languages, how do you manage international SEO at this scale?
So for languages on stake.com, it's kind of easy because we have 15 different languages on the website. So we have stake.com, which is the English and the base language. And then with the hreflangs, we point to our different language codes. So like /JA will be Japanese, /ES is Spanish. And then just using hreflangs and then having all the elements translated. So all of our menu items and all those templated metadata that I mentioned earlier, because we have it all nice and systemized, we're able to create like those kind of things relevant. So for one website, it's very easy. Where it gets complicated is when you have multiple websites on different technologies with different mechanisms. Yeah. So like stake.com can implement a hreflang, whereas our regulated markets can't do that mechanism yet, but we're working on it. So I could give a boost to our Brazil, Colombia, and Peru websites, but they can't interconnect, so it's not as efficient. But that's the kind of stuff you have to kind of maintain. We have mechanisms for automatically generated hreflang that can be overwritten in our CMS. So by default, we just link to stake.com in a vacuum. But then when we want to make an exception for, say, the live casino page, then we can actually override that in our content management system. So we have systems in place where we have fallbacks, then manual overrides.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what are like the common errors you see people make with international SEO at this scale?
So one of the things that people confuse often is like language and country codes. So like they might focus on the country and not the language, or the language and not the country. They're not hitting really true local signals like NAPs, so name, address, phone number. So you might have something that might be written in Spanish, but you might not mention anything about it being Colombian or that kind of thing. So like the things that would actually do it. And you can overcome this with hreflang, but Google's quite smart and they know the intent of users. So if people within that market are searching for you specifically, they will know it. But if you're not indicating or having something that shows up in, say, the title in Google in the SERPs that says Colombia or Brazil, then it's less effective. You can even see this in search volume when you see casino online versus casino online at a country. The CPC is like 4 times as much because people are actually actively looking for it. So you have to actually localize it for the individual language. Other things that people make a mistake is also this cultural stuff with localization. So they just feed it to AI or they do that kind of translations. But for example, a language like Portuguese or in Lisbon or Spanish, they have male and female when they refer to objects or a website. So an online casino, is it the male or the female? So is it na or ne or whatever I can't speak it, but like we have local specialists on my team who could speak Brazilian Portuguese, for example. So she can determine it should be this. And then we make that change throughout the website because it's inconsistent. And then we determine from now on, when you refer to casino, it's the female, not the male, etc. So you make those kind of decisions because like Portuguese and Brazilian Portuguese is very different. So people can tell. Even in Latin American Spanish is different than Spanish, but even like Argentinian Spanish is different than Chilean Spanish, it's different than Venezuelan Spanish. Like it's all, you have to actually write in the way that the people expect it to be written, because they would actually rather read English than bad language of their own language. They think it's a scam, they think it's a robot.
Yeah, exactly. They think it's a scam.
Yes. And that's the one thing you want to avoid as a casino.
Yeah, exactly. And you are handling SEO for two very different platforms.
Yep.
One is Stake, online casino, and the other is a live streaming service, Kick. What are like the unique challenges you see in SEO?
So
for each of those?
Two very different platforms. So Stake is very resource intensive. We're well resourced with link acquisition. We're well resourced for content production. I'm well resourced in the product standpoint. So like Stake needs like day-to-day on non-stop management. Even like while I'm here in Lisbon, I have to do some stuff. Like there's like developers will push a change and that changes something, like the H1s are gone for this type of page, etc. Whereas Kick is very mechanical. So like our focus is more essentially technical SEO, but as a big project. And like we've implemented that. One day Kick might evolve where we might have rich content or guides and those kind of things, and we can do a different kind of SEO for Kick. But our main thing for Kick is to make it as mechanical as possible, like give a good schema, good mechanisms, control the crawl budgets, so some of those unavailable after for expired videos, profile pages, optimize it for that. Because we want the main traffic source for Kick is actually the streamer's profile. So if someone would search for Aiden Ross, for example, we're competing with his own Twitter page. That's the kind of thing we have to compete with. No, we're not trying to rank for like GTA streams online, because the amount of people search for one versus the actual streamers is vastly different. It's like that's very small amount of traffic. It's like very, very little in the grand scheme of things.
And do you find any differences in how you handle technical SEO, like due to different tech stacks? Like, for example, like I guess Stake, like more traditional web content, and like Kick, maybe more JavaScript.
They're actually both headless JavaScript frameworks.
Really?
Yes. So Stake is built on something called SvelteKit. So that is modern JavaScript framework, and Kick is built on Next.js. So they're actually the same. Like it's actually the same challenges. So it's all custom web application. The thing that makes it hard isn't that the JavaScript. The thing that makes it hard is that they're custom. So they're built as products first. So that means that it's not like WordPress where you can install this plugin for SEO. You as the SEO have to design the entire system of SEO. Like this is how we handle page titles. This is how we handle the robots.txt. This is how we handle how links are generated. Like for example, they on Kick, you will have like little clips. You can share like a 15-second clip or a minute clip of a stream. And it has a URL, it'll be kick.com/the-user/clips/the clip ID. You can share that link to anyone, but how could Google find it? That link only happens when you share it. So my job is to say, when you have this share URL, actually have a link for Google to find. So those are like little things in the product where the people who design the product have the user experience in mind, but I'm there to say the robot is a user as well. And you have to actually help them find it, because they can't pop up, grab the URL and the little thing. They actually have to see the physical URL.
That's a good approach.
Yes.
Yeah, you have two types of users. So what is your approach to schema? Big question.
It's a big question, and I can talk about this for hours. I could talk literally that one question. I could talk probably about 3 hours.
We will make another episode.
We'll do another episode on it. So long story short, schema I generate on a page. So I've generated schema and a manual amended schema. So every single page type. So a casino game is a type of page. It's a casino game page, a casino group page, a sport page, sport category page, sport tournament page, all kind of the same thing. Then you have sport fixtures, horse racing, which doesn't have schema, and there's and blog posts, promotions, etc. So all of those pages have generated schema. So we have site-wide schema, which is for on every single page on the website. That's for the website and organization. So that tells us that this is the website stake.com, and here are a bunch of things about it. And we have the organization. Our specific organization type is the casino one, because that's a type of organization. And that has a unique ID. It'll be like @ID stake orgs, @ID stake site, or something like that, whatever I named it. Because we have those as organization schema and website schema, we can rebuild the web page schema on every single page and then reuse those site-wide schemas and insert them in relevant places. So we generate the schema, we generate little blobs of it, and then we join it all in ID. So we design it on a page-by-page basis. It's very, very structured. So that means that, like, I've only done it with the manual amendments, but for example, I could do like something like the Premier League, generate all the URLs on the page, but I could actually write in a manual way all of the stadiums and all of that kind of stuff. I can fully flesh it out and then join them to whatever's dynamically generated on the page based on the ID. So like, this is about this team, this is their home stadium. I can insert that if that team exists on the page that's being generated automatically. So the automatic schema and the manual schema can actually be joined. So that's the mechanism I have that makes basically that we have like really, really good structure so that whenever schema gets generated, it fills in all the details and it shows how relevant the page is and it differentiates from other pages. But then we have mechanism where we can override it with manual enhancements.
Okay,
Yeah,
I see.
it's very fancy. I wish I could go into detail very
We will
specifically,
film
but I would
the
need
schema
I would
episode.
need diagrams and like a live demo and stuff like that to actually go
Nice.
into it.
Let's do it next time.
100%.
And what about core web vitals? What's your approach to those, and how does this work?
I have ranked many, many, many websites that fail core web vitals gloriously. So I can tell an anecdote. When I was working in an agency, I had a client that was the biggest hair care retailer in Australia. So they have many, many stores. They sell that. And we ranked #1 for hair straightener, shampoo, conditioner, like the biggest terms for them. 80% of their traffic was all from Google. And they failed it gloriously. They were one of the slowest websites in the world. They did terrible, really, really bad, but we were able to get around it. Like, you know, like the view source had all the good stuff in there. Where, like, even Stake has very, very poor core web vitals because as a preloader, it's complex. We have to have certain legal provisions in case we have people accessing from like regions where we're not allowed to operate in. So it fails it. So I've seen no evidence in my entire career that core web vitals actually does matter. Like speed does matter, like what's available on the response. So like the view source HTML, but just for helping Google crawl. It's not something that actually affects ranking that much, maybe as a tiebreaker at best, but like stake.com has zeros on core web vitals and was able to rank for like #1 for online casino in the US, which is the most competitive term in like our entire industry. Wow. So it hasn't really affected us, and I don't think it ever will. It's not like, say, for example, the HTTPS update in like 2016 or whatever that was. That one, you can't rank without HTTPS. That's like 100% you need HTTPS. Yeah. Core web vitals, I've never seen any evidence. Like, you could probably look at all the most competitive terms, the biggest websites, and many of them fail core web vitals. So I honestly don't think it matters. It might have mattered if you're an affiliate and you have a WordPress website and you need that extra edge just to outcompete someone else. But for a website like ours, it actually doesn't really matter. Like, I don't think we would rank any better if we had good core web vitals versus bad, to be perfectly honest. Maybe on like other types of search intent, but no, to be honest, I've never seen any evidence of it.
But won't it affect the user engagement?
You'd think that, but people are surprisingly patient.
Really?
So as long as the thing that affects it is when people bounce back into Google. So like if someone Googles something, they click on our results, and if it's too long, so the theory is they're too long, they hit the back button, they go back. That does affect it. You can tell that with certain markets. So certain markets we're not available in, they'll bounce and they'll go back in Google. So, but that is the only mechanism, not the actual core web vitals. It's the user behavior one. So like if someone goes to our website, they wait a while, they get a pop-up, but then they keep going, or they sign up for an account, or they go elsewhere because they're in the wrong region, then we actually still rank well. Like, you know, like if you go from the US and you Google like Stake and you land on Stake, you get a pop-up to go to Stake US, you never bounced to Google's eyes. You went to a different website. They don't know that. They might know it if they look at Google Analytics, but they're not allowed to. So from Google's perspective, you went on the SERPs, you clicked on the result, and you didn't come back. So that means the website must have satisfied intent. So that's the thing there. It's not actually Core Web Vitals. Core Web Vitals is a score, but it's not the actual mechanism that truly differentiates what's more important. It's actually the user signal that is the metric, but that's not Core Web Vitals. That's if the user wants to leave or not. So if every single person who Googles our names knows us and they recognize our brand and they're willing to wait the preload thing, and it's fine, they can sign up for an account, they take their while, they submit their ID, they take the photo of themselves, all that kind of process, that's a long time. And they never go back to Google. So like it's almost the opposite. It's almost like people are patient and they don't bounce from our website fast enough. The only time that they bounce from a website is when the website's flat out not available in their region for like legal reasons. That's the only, you can see it, that matters. So pogo sticking and users bouncing matters. Core Web Vitals as a score, as a mechanism by itself, no. It's like a health metric, but it's not an actual metric for the actual search, in my opinion.
Very interesting. So what is real-time SEO? How to do it correctly?
So there's different levels and approaches for real-time SEO. So I'll use Kik as the first example. So Kik as live streaming platform. So these URLs that matter already exist, but they have different content in real time. So the platform has high crawl rates, which is very fortunate, just being a very big brand, a top 200 website on the internet, on key pages. And seeing that fast-moving content, Google just naturally is able to see something new. But they also have a indexing API for live stream, very specifically the indexing API, which has been abused, but is actually available for live stream platforms and also for job postings. They're the only two allowed use cases. So this, as a live stream platform, is allowed to. So you can have the live streaming API available where you can submit it when an important streamer or an important event submits, and it allows you to just use the mechanism of Google. But also Google has been trained. So our schema is actually dynamic on Kik. So for when a profile is normal, it's just a user profile page. But when it has a live stream video on it, it now is a user profile page that happens to have a broadcast event of a live stream video category. So video, that's live stream video, and also that the user it's an event that's a broadcast event. So Google actually sees that this is active and live. So that is how you can do live indexing and updates to the SERPs. It's not adding a new URL, it's actually just enhancing a URL or giving a boost of it that has active content. Stake is a little bit different. That's where we have those fixtures. That's where we have those games that have like, they need to rank on the day. So for Sportsbook, for example, 65% of all searches for an individual sporting event happens within 4 hours of the event. Within esports, that's 80%, within like 1 hour of the event. So that means that if you ever do research, like in Ahrefs or SEMrush, you never see the real search volume. Like I could get, for example, like the Iran Soccer League 3rd division. One of their matches, this team versus this team. For whatever reason, for luck or whatever, good luck, we have good indexing processes. We'll be number 5 in Google for that individual match and get like 900 clicks for that one keyword and 200 for the supplementary keyword and that one. And we have a huge spike for this one random match that we didn't optimize. It was just available. We were the ones who had it ready to go. And that is where we get value. And that's where we get actual bets and placement, because we were around where the activity happened. So it's not something you forecast. It's with industry knowledge and in preparation, you can actually get stuff available and index available. So those are the same things as well. The schema, the unavailable after to clean up the index, the sitemap and high priority and those kind of things there. So,
I see. Awesome. And how do you use AI and automation? I imagine that must be important with sites of that size.
Well, like I mentioned, we do all our manual stuff for content. So we actually don't use AI for content. It's actually really, really interesting. The one thing that could explore AI is like for those real-time content. So like those pages have a lifespan of less than a week for almost all of them. That is acceptable for me to put AI content because we're just enhancing the what the page is about as opposed to optimizing for it. Like we could create a template and have AI generate for it. And I think that might be acceptable and it wouldn't be that hard to implement. But internally, what we use AI for is actually operational. Like we have internal APIs so we can export Screaming Frog, put it into a Google Sheet. That Google Sheet set to publish as a CSV. That CSV gets ingested into a Cloudflare worker. And now we actually have an API that can create something like a related page engine. So we have one specifically built for casino games based on the way we have extraction rules set up. But we have that to actually provide intelligence to us. So we can actually see what pages are related. So it helps us with the mechanism of like us manually interlinking. So we use AI to build internal tools, those kind of things. I think there's more we can do with like MCP servers and those kind of things where I could explore, and there's elements of it. So I'm very curious to actually implement it. But I've seen so much evidence that whenever you do stuff manually and have good operations, it always outperforms AI. But maybe I can be challenged on that if there's more interesting stuff we can do.
Nice. So actually, when you need to implement a technical SEO change, how do you roll it out across like thousands and thousands of pages?
So with a big complex custom apps like that, we have different processes for that. So like if it's something I do myself, so like say it's a robots.txt change, that's a very easy fix.
Yeah.
I have enough engineering access where I can implement myself, I can deploy it myself, and the engineers believe I do it fine. It's only editing the one page. When you're editing something that affects the templates or the components of the entire website's mechanism, you work as a team. So we have like preview environments where we test it. We have staging environments where we would run Screaming Frog and use the authentication, like form authentication, and analyze if it's going to affect anything. We can also do it, like if for some things we might be able to roll it on say Stake US first, then on stake.com. So for something that's a little bit more complicated, but rarely is that for SEO. So we have good processes for testing and implementation. And if something goes wrong, we can always roll back. So like if something goes wrong, we can roll back a pull request, and then it will just take it back, and then we identify what went wrong. Because sometimes what's on a staging environment isn't necessarily the same. So for example, URLs can be different on a staging and a production because you're getting real data versus what is either dummy data or there's like configuration set up in the production environment. So that's kind of how we can do it. It's very complicated. Like for the big complicated projects, I document a lot, I plan a lot, and it's a longer process. Whereas the simple ones, I just, like a cowboy, I just type it myself. I pull in pull requests. I just tell the engineers this is what needs to be done. They look at it, and as long as I didn't touch anything serious, then it's fine.
And yeah, exactly. How do you orchestrate work between different departments? Like with such a huge company like Stake, you have marketing, like content team, UX, legal,
customer support, like everyone. Yeah. So my philosophy is that as SEO, we're everyone's best friend. Like as a team, we solve many other problems that they have. So if it's for customer support or VIP, we help them with their support documentation. When it comes to product and engineering, because I can specifically speak the lingo, I can actually talk about like a pull request, like this is a component based, or like we add this to this route, that kind of stuff. It actually makes things very clear as opposed to someone who's not technical communicating those things. With design, we're very considerate of what their needs are. We try to find a balance, or we can make certain concessions. And that's why our website structured the ways that we make compromises that SEO still have a benefit without like being ugly or over optimized for SEO. Like our SEO is kind of like the minimum viable acceptance rate, right? It's not like we want everything to be super SEO-y. Like it's tucked away in the bottom for the content, and we have certain mechanisms and breadcrumbs. But that kind of relationship building and being very reliable is the thing that gets you kind of the buy-in internally. Like people come to us to solve problems that's not SEO related. Like I solve people's data problems. I've solved people just, my team solves all sorts of like initiatives. Like we're very good at managing projects. It's just as SEOs, you kind of have to be good at solving every other problem because it's technical content and links. So that's varied skill sets. You just have to be good at everything and just like be very helpful in communicating that kind of stuff.
Can you share maybe an example of such a successful collaboration between your internal departments?
Oh, yeah, sure. So I'll think of a specific one. So let's think about a project where we have to add, I'm trying to think of a successful one. So, so for example, let's talk about like when we had to implement our sportsbooks SEO. So that was done maybe 2+ years ago. So the sportsbook team, which is the one who sets the odds, those kind of things, they have certain needs. They have certain ways they want data presented, they have that kind of thing. But that could create many URLs. There's a version of stake.com that could have happened where we would have way too many URLs in our sportsbook, like for individual betting fixtures or those kind of things. So me communicating with the product team, me communicating with the engineering team about like, hey, can we just keep it at this level, and all the tabs, instead of creating URLs, they just become dynamic in JavaScript. I say use JavaScript in this instance to save our crawl budget. So that kind of stuff where you make a compromise, you solve what they want. They want the ability to have many different options for betting, but we also communicate our technical expertise. Like, you can add tab URLs that will be non-beneficial from an SEO standpoint. It'll be noisy, that kind of stuff. So we can provide a solution to engineering and just say, just make this dynamic. You don't have to change the URL, keep it all on the one page. And it's a useful enough solution for everyone that no one can object to it. And it's in my interest, but it's in everyone's interest. So that's the kind of things that you kind of find the pathway to a shared solution.
So how do you actually pitch like more troublesome or expensive SEO projects to stakeholders? What's your strategy for that?
So when we're pitching like an SEO project or something that could be expensive or resource intensive or time expensive, or you have to get in front of busy people, we have to either tie it to other things. So it's not just an SEO thing. This could be an improvement to conversion rate. This could be an improvement to customer support or VIP or the broader marketing efforts. So sometimes it's say, hey, like an affiliate gets all this traffic, it should be us and it wouldn't be that hard to do. Like those kind of things, you tie it to either a monetary value or you tie it to a business need, or this would save customer support, like time and effort if we just service this, because they get asked this question all the time and we don't have any page that satisfies this search intent. So those are the kind of projects that you have. So, and obviously if there's a business value on there, then that would be great as well. So like if this could make money, then it's actually surprisingly easy. But like fundamentally, robots experience is something that you optimize for. It's the same as customer experience and user experience. Like we just have to put the robot as a trusted user. Like we want the robot to be like liked and have an easy time on the website, just like our customers.
Yeah. So are you what specific KPIs do you focus on when you evaluate your SEO projects, whether they're successful or not?
So our main KPI, just broadly, because we're a global operator, is essentially non-brand and generic traffic. So like there's traffic without stake on it. So that's the one there. The hard thing is, because I remember when I started SEO, you used to be able to have Google Analytics where you had the keyword tied to the actual conversion value, and it was actually really easy 12 to 15 years ago to actually get those real money values. But we can't, because our brand traffic's too strong that I can't actually differentiate for many pages what it is, because we have too many users from countries like India that is just overwhelmingly the organic traffic is brand for certain things. So it actually muddies up the real money values. Like we can do it for very specific pages, but not really that well. But we also get that value. So we get like our GSC traffic. So like the keyword and country, and how many clicks and how many clicks it would have gotten over a period of time. And then we can take the CPC value. You can get that from Ahrefs, SEMrush, data for SEO, and you just multiply that. And that is the estimated marketing cost. So that is actually a really, really powerful value. So I could say in Q2, SEO value was an estimated X million dollars, whatever it is. And then it's like, so of marketing spend, not even like return on value. Like you would have had to spend the equivalent of like thousands or millions or whatever on CPC to get the traffic that we got for SEO. And that is way less than what we spent, like by a lot. So we can say we can have an estimated ROI, and then we can even say if we also have like estimated ROAS based on what CPC does, and we can say this estimate to make us between X and X. So lower end ROAS and higher end ROAS, and then I can do that. It's not something I formally do. I just do that whenever I have to make myself look good. So it looks,
that's a good one.
Yeah. The finance department, our finance business partner, it was their idea. So like they said, I want you all to look good because I'm doing a financial report for the execs and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, we can do that. It's like, oh, well, I can actually map that because I'm the subject matter expert. So I can actually do lookups and match a keyword to CPC. Not all of it gets mapped out. I think Ahrefs maps 65% of it, SEMrush only 40% to keyword and country and CPC, and they're all different values, but like at least we have something that indicates value, and the one that get mapped is well above value. So the internal value, especially within the higher level of the company, they know how valuable SEO is. There's a reason why they resource it. There's a reason why my team's grown to 10 people, like in a relatively short time.
No, you're doing a great job about when it comes to pitching those projects. This is awesome and proving the value. So actually looking ahead, like what emerging trends do you believe will have the biggest impact on the future of technical SEO in iGaming specifically?
So I think there's a lot of like API driven work with like, getting information from like live sporting events, those kind of things. I mean, there might be some more sophisticated stuff with casino, but that will be up to the casino space on how that evolves. And a lot of integration with like user generated content. So in Australia, for example, we have a company called Sportsbet and they have this sophisticated first party feed of like user content and also content that they generate on the app. So when you use their app, there's actually like, the popular bets that someone did that people follow, but then also people reacting to it, commenting to it, sharing it, those kind of things are actually quite, in context of like what we could do in stake.com, for example, is like we have like a live chat feature. We have like top performing like bets that happen. We have a live bet feed, but ways that can get integrated within the user consumer experience is the way that we can do it. In regards to SEO, I think that would, I think there's like so many things that can overcome, but I think it's up to where Google is going. Like if like what they do with the AI overviews and those kind of things and how we as an industry adapt to it. Because there's a reason why they favor Reddit. There's a reason why they favor that. That's why I want to see if there's a way we can do community stuff within the iGaming sector as a first party content. So like the equivalent of, having a forum on your website, having that publicly visible. Like we do have a forum, but it's on a different part of our website. We do have this, having that as part of an integrated experience that could be surfaced up without ruining your core budget.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff there. So yeah, that's kind of where I think the future is like using your customers as content to cover certain intents. But ways to do that would depend on how Google is going on about it.
Nice. We'll see. Thank you so much, Peter. This was so helpful and full of details. Thank you for all that you shared. And if you're interested in more content like that, follow and subscribe our podcast and definitely follow Peter on his LinkedIn profile. Thank you so much.
Thank you.